Welcome to this continuing series from Morgan Rees.
You ready for this? You ready for this? You ready for this?
We're at the San Jose airport doing a new leg to our journey. Flight time on a direct flight from San Jose, California to Paris, France is approximately 11.5 to 12 hours. Paris is 9 hours ahead of San Jose. Metropolitan France uses Central European time. Now we're at the Paris airport. The moment you're at Charles de Gaulle Airport, you are inundated with brands. France has some of the most successful brands with such notables as Perrier, Michelin, Airbus, and more. France has some of the most known luxury brands, French car brands. France has a diversified portfolio of products and services. You can't forget about the French pastries. France is the capital of the fashion industry. Yes, the French invented tennis. Who else would use the word love in a game? Today's program we will cover Chez Paul, a local bistro, Senine River cruise, Notre Dame Cathedral, Eiffel Tower, Saint Séverin Church, Avenue des Champs-Élysées, Arc de Triomphe, Fragonard, one of France's oldest perfume houses, the village of Montmartre, the Louvre Museum, Royal Estate of Versailles, Moulin Rouge, Claude Monet, Le Procol Restaurant, Charles de Gaulle Airport. Paris is divided into 20 different areas. Dinner at Chez Paul, a local bistro that's owned for generations, a true Parisian gem. When we arrived at Chez Paul, the owner welcomed us with a Cheshire cat smile, beaming with pride. The food and ambience was great. The Senine River is 483 miles long and it's an important commercial waterway within Paris and the northern part of France. The Senine River runs horizontally across Paris and is positioned almost perfectly in the center of the city. From the river, you'll be able to see many Paris' most famous sights. Did you know that Paris is the home of 2 small natural islands? The Conciergerie is a building in Paris located on one of the 2 remaining natural islands on the river. The American Church in Paris is the first American church established outside the United States. The Louvre Museum is the world's largest art museum and historic monument in Paris, a central landmark of the city and is located on the right bank of the river. The Musée d'Orsay is in Paris on the left bank of the river. It was formerly a railroad station. The museum holds mainly French artwork. Almost directly across the river on the right bank is the Louvre Museum. You'll see them at the same time. Take photographs of the Eiffel Tower, the Iron Lady. Notre Dame Cathedral. A structural fire broke out beneath the roof of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris between April 15th and 16th on 2019, just before 6:20 p.m. Sunday Central European Time. Property damage was the roof and spire were completely destroyed, windows and vaulted ceilings damaged. Notre Dame by the numbers. The start of the cathedral's building started in 1163. Finalization of the 2 towers was 1240 through 1250. The number of visitors per year are 13 million people, with the average wait time for a visit at 2 hours. The world is looking forward to the completion of the Gothic masterpiece rebuild after the fire ravaged this 12th century cathedral. Eiffel Tower. Completed in 1898, this colossal landmark is now a famous symbol of France. The Eiffel Tower stands 1,050 feet in height. Gustave Eiffel is also the person that created the inner frame for the Statue of Liberty. Avenue des Champs-Élysées. Paris's monuments all precisely line up over 5 miles and is known as the Paris Historical Axis. This is known as the world's most beautiful avenue. Arc de Triomphe is located in Paris. It began in 1806 by Napoleon in honor of his victorious armies and was completed in 1836. The Unknown Soldier of France and the Eternal Flames were placed beneath the arch after World War I. The Arc is one of the most famous monuments in Paris, standing at the west end of the Avenue des Champs-Élysées. The Arc de Triomphe honors those who fought and died for France in the French Revolution. There are 12 boulevards that converge on the arc like the spokes of a wheel. There are 2 underground tunnel passages that take you directly to the arc, so you do not need to cross through the traffic on the roundabout. Fragonard, one of France's oldest perfume houses. 1 ounce of French fashion house signature scent is composed of 1,000 jasmine flowers. Perfume math. 4 tons of roses equals 1.6 million rose blossoms. 15 countries that sold the highest dollar amount of perfumes in 2008. France, number 1, 5.3 billion. Spain, 2.2 billion. Germany, 2 billion. And the United States at 1.8 billion. At Fragonard in Paris, make your very own French perfume. They'll teach you how to take your favorite scents and make the best fragrance you can. 3 generations have run and still run the company. The village of Montmartre. Since the streets are narrow in Montmartre, we have to take this little train to go up the hill. Montmartre is a large hill in Paris's 18th district. Its elevation is 430 feet high. Montmartre is primarily known for its artistic history. Montmartre's key historical figures include such notables as Pablo Picasso, Vincent van Gogh, Matisse, Toulouse-Lautrec, Salvador Dali, Claude Monet, and many more. The water tower of Montmartre was built in 1927 with the same white travertine stone as the basilica. It is still in use and has a capacity of 184,000 gallons and supplies houses situated on the top of the hill. Basilique du Sacré-Cœur is built of travertine stone. The basilica construction began in 1875 and was completed in 1914. It has kept the atmosphere of a village remarkably intact, with intimate squares, winding narrow streets, tiny terraces, and long stairways. We were fortunate to have the good timing to have dinner in this quaint little village. It was a covered outdoor area. Adjacent to our restaurant was a square filled with numerous artists. It's time for our tour group to reconvene, take the train, and go back to our hotel. Saint Séverin Church. The Church of Saint Séverin is a Roman Catholic church in the Latin Quarter area of Paris. It is one of the oldest churches and remains still a place of worship. Some of the external features of the building are they have gargoyles and flying buttresses. The bells include the oldest one remaining in Paris, cast in 1412. It also has the dubious honor of the first recorded surgery for a gallstone was performed in 1451, and the patient survived. The Louvre Museum. Welcome, we're about to have a high-level walkthrough of the Louvre. Hope you enjoy things. Welcome to the Louvre. The origin of the Louvre dates back to the 1200s. Once a royal residence, it became a museum in 1793 during the French Revolution and is now home to artwork dating from the 7th millennium BC to the 1850s. The collections are displayed on 5 levels in 3 interconnecting wings. Thanks to the archaeological excavations in the mid-1980s, a medieval Louvre exhibition below the Louvre Museum's courtyard now lets visitors explore the ruins of the castle that existed from 1190 AD until the early 16th century, when much of it was torn down to make way for the Renaissance palace that survives as the Louvre Museum. The Louvre Castle's sewage dumped directly into the surrounding moat. A footpath leads visitors through the excavated ruins beneath the Louvre Sully wing. Stonemasons engraved a little shape, their signature, into the stones of the wall. Foundation walls follow an empty moat beneath the Louvre Museum. During restoration between 1814 and 1830, created the Department of Egyptian Antiquities. Michelangelo at the Louvre includes a vast sculpture collection. They include his 2 slave statues, sculpted between 1513 and 1550. These sculptures were originally intended for the tomb of Pope Julius II. Judgment of Paris with Aphrodite was created 1st century BC. The Venus de Milo is an ancient Greek statue and one of the most famous works of ancient Greek art. The statue dates back to around 100 BC. Cupid and Psyche is a story about overcoming the obstacles of the love between Psyche and Cupid and their ultimate union in a sacred marriage. Athena Velletri dates back to the 5th century. Winged Victory of Samothrace, an original Greek statue found in 1863 on the island of Samothrace. The statue is standing on the sculptured prow of the ship. The Victory, Nike in Greek, is shown as if she were alighting the prow of the ship to which she is bringing divine favor. Gallery di Apollon is famous for its high-voltage ceilings with intricate paintings. Salone Carré, Room 3, is where the Louvre exhibits their Italian paintings, visible in the Da Vinci Code film. The Leonardo da Vinci collection includes Virgin and the Child with Saint Marie, Saint John the Baptist, Virgin of the Rocks, Mona Lisa, and more. The ceiling of the Great Gallery is very ornate with decorative elements. Wrath of the Medusa, painted by Theo Géricault, and is on display at the large format 19th century French painting gallery. The Louvre gift shop stocks a wide range of museum-related merchandise. I hope you enjoyed our quick high-level walkthrough of the Louvre. Royal Estate of Versailles. Versailles is the brand capital outside of Paris. The Palace of Versailles covers an area of 87,728,000 square feet, or 2,014 acres, making it the world's largest royal domain. You practically need a GPS. The Palace of Versailles required the work of approximately 3,000 people to construct the building and the grounds. There are more than 700 rooms, including 1,200 fireplaces and 60 staircases. There were more than 200 servants in the palace to serve the king. Chateau Versailles, Palace Entrance Hall with grand staircase. It is estimated that approximately 5 million people visit the palace each year as tourists, and between 8 and 10 million people walk the gardens. Vestibule de la Chapelle. The King's Chambers are located on the second floor at the center of the Central Pavilion, which is the most ornate part of the building. The chambers lie along the axis of the sun. As the king liked to refer to himself as the Sun King, he had the habit of rising in the east just like the sun. This east-west axis gives a relatively symmetrical feel to the whole of the palace and to the gardens. Abundance Salon, a room for refreshments like coffee, wine, and liquors. Venus Salon, a room used for official business. It is next to the Ambassador's Staircase. Diana Salon, used for official business, and also it's next to the Ambassador's Staircase. King Louis XIV's day was timed to the minute. From morning to evening, his days ran like clockwork. 8:30 a.m., the first valet of the chamber woke the king up with, "Sire, it's time to get up." Members of the king's entourage, those important roles, and certain friends who enjoyed the privilege of attending such moments successfully entered the king's bedchamber, as well as the most important members of the court. The closest royal servants were allowed to watch this ceremony. The number of spectators, all male, was probably around 100. The Coronation Room. In 1833, it became a room devoted to the glory of Napoleon Bonaparte, the first consul and emperor of the French. The plan was to display the greatest paintings of his reign. To the glory of the emperor. The War Salon's overall decor depicts the victories of France. The French war victories included Germany, Spain, and Holland. The Hall of Mirrors is the most famous room in the palace. Versailles Gardens. Visitors looking through the central window in the Hall of Mirrors will see the grand perspective stretching away from the horizon. The Queen's apartments are a series of rooms whose layout is identical to that of the King's state apartments to the north. The bedchamber is the most important room in the apartments and is where the Queen spent most of her time. It is estimated that approximately 5 million people visit the palace each year as tourists, and between 8 and 10 million people walk the gardens. The gardens cover some 1,970,000 acres of land, which is landscaped in the classic French garden style. There are 200,000 trees, 210,000 plants planted annually, 50 fountains, 620 water jets fed by 22 miles of piping. Moulin Rouge. There was a devastating fire in 1915. The Moulin Rouge was closed for 6 years for renovation work and reopened in 1921.
Welcome to the Moulin Rouge.
Claude Monet. Now we're going to go through Monet's estate, which includes his studio, his beautiful house, and his gorgeous gardens. Located 50 miles west from Paris in the village of Giverny. Claude Monet was born in Paris in 1840 through his death in Giverny in 1926. From 1883, Monet lived in Giverny, where he purchased a house and property and began a vast landscaping project. Claude Oscar Monet was a founder of the French Impressionist painting. In this water garden, you will find his famous Japanese bridge, which were his favorite subjects that included lily ponds, which would become the subject matter of his best-known works. Paint in a tube was a new invention. This is what Impressionists needed to escape from the confines of a studio. Now it was practical to produce and finish an oil painting on site. Claude Monet's garden in Giverny. Claude Monet did not like organized or constrained gardens. He married flowers according to their colors and left them to grow rather freely. Monet wrote daily instructions to his gardener, precise designs, and layouts for his plants. Claude and his wife Alice didn't share the same bedroom, as was usual in the upper middle class. From her bedroom, Alice could keep an eye on the children from the other side of the landing. One first enters Claude Monet's bedroom. Monet slept in this very simple bed. Monet exhibited in his room Impressionist work by his friends. Monet, who loved colors, chose all the colors in the house. The main staircase leads to the dining room, the most dramatic room of the house. Monet had the dining room painted in 2 tones of yellow. This vibrant color enhances the blues of the dishes on display in the buffets. The dining room is connected to the kitchen to make service easier. Monet wanted a blue kitchen so that the guests would see the right color in harmony with the yellow dining room when the door of the kitchen was open. Monet's property has been open to the public since September 1980. To get to his water garden, you go through an underground passage. Monet was always on the lookout for rare varieties. 500,000 visitors discover Monet's gardens each year during the 7 months that they are open. I hope you enjoyed Monet's estate. Le Proco Restaurant. Restaurant Le Proco is the oldest restaurant in Paris in continuous operation. Opened in 1686, anyone who was anyone in the artistic and literary world would gather at the Proco to debate and exchange philosophies. Here are a few historical things that occurred at the Le Proco. In 1686, the restaurant Le Proco opened. Napoleon Bonaparte had an idea of the French Revolution. Benjamin Franklin wrote part of the United States Constitution at a table. Thomas Jefferson, John Paul Jones, Voltaire, Victor Hugo, and many, many more. While you're sitting there sipping coffee, you may want to consider who's been sitting in that same spot before you got there in the past. As if that isn't enough history for one cafe, as you enter, on the left sits a cloth military hat encased in glass. Many years ago, a young, ambitious French soldier by the name of Napoleon left it. The restaurant serves lunch, dinner, hot drinks, wine, and beer. The emphasis here is on traditional French cuisine. The dress code is business casual to formal wear is recommended for dinner. Lunch service is more casual. That ends our program in Paris. Well, we're back at the San Jose Airport. I hope you enjoyed everything you just looked at.
If you'd like to learn more about these important concepts or any other issues that we've covered on today's show, log on to www.morganrees.com. That's morganrees.com. Thanks for listening.